welcome to Smarking Down and our coverage of The Last Dance. I'm your host, Brother Bob, and with me, special guest for this episode is my good buddy, JR. What's up, JR?
What's up, Bob?
You excited for this, man? We get to finally do something on Smarking Down, something we talked about doing a little bit, but we really haven't.
Yeah, this is cool. This is my first podcast or YouTube video, and should be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man. So we had 2 episodes on Sunday. They gave us a double header there of Last Dance Chicago Bulls episodes. So we got plenty we can talk about. I think the thing everybody online's been focused on as far as those episodes go, with the Scottie Pippen stuff, a lot about Scottie Pippen really not getting paid what he deserved as a key member of that team, as the second leading scorer, as the Robin to Jordan's Batman. I think that's what a lot of people have focused on, but I think there was a whole lot in that those 2 episodes that we can go over. Is there anything that struck you as interesting that you didn't know going in? I mean, being a huge Bulls fan like I am, is there anything that you didn't know going into those episodes that kind of struck you as interesting?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I wasn't aware of traveling cocaine circus.
Yeah, that struck me off guard as well. We hear about that a lot in like the wrestling business, which we cover a lot here on this channel. The 80s were a time full of the drug use, and picking up girls on the road and having these lavish parties. You hear a lot of it in the hip hop industry too, but I really didn't know that was such a mainstream thing within the Bulls organization.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also thought so on that same topic. I found it interesting that how uninterested Jordan was in partaking in those things as a rookie. Just because
maybe as a rookie, but I'm pretty sure later down the line, and I think there's plenty of stories. I mean, how can you resist women?
Yeah.
Beautiful women throwing themselves at you because you're an NBA player, especially of that stature.
Absolutely. But when I'm specifically like he mentioned at that time he didn't do drugs. He didn't like hook up with lots of women. He mentioned that he didn't even drink at that time, and I found that all really fascinating because we've heard some of the stories about him and women and gambling and stuff later on. That's been talked about. So finding out like when he came in the league, how he just kind of wanted to separate himself from that, with an interesting take that I was not aware of at the time.
For sure.
Yeah. So you grew up in Chicago area, correct?
Yep.
Okay. I'm a West Michigan guy, Grand Rapids born. So we kind of had different experiences, as Bulls fans growing up. You want to share a little bit about your experience in Chicago during the 90s era of the Chicago Bulls and what it was like?
It was amazing. Like everything was about the Bulls. To this day, it's labeled as a bear town. Mm-hmm. But during the 90s, those late 80s, early 90s with Michael, it just elevated to another level. So the fandom, and you could see it like globally, was just at a different level. I don't know what else to say. It was so much fun. Tickets were the hot item. Apparel. Everybody, was rocking the Bulls starter. Not just in Chicago. It was either you were rocking a Chicago Bulls starter jacket or LA Raiders due to the hip hop scene.
Yeah, the
coat to get, which I never owned.
I had a couple starter jackets.
I always wanted one, and that's something I never had. The black hooded one with the bullhead on the back, and then the left chest logo to Chicago Bulls. But
Yep, yep, man. Those were amazing. I actually had my starter jacket stolen in middle school. Someone stole it out of my. We didn't have like lockers. We had like the little hooks in the hallway, and yeah, someone swiped it off one of the hooks in middle school. So yeah, no. But yeah, I had a couple of those. The moment I realized that the Jordan phenomenon was truly like worldwide. Was watching the Olympics, and they followed him everywhere with the camera and stuff. And I mean, those guys were all like rock stars there with like the Beatles, but Michael himself, there's that footage, and they used it during this documentary again, where he's walking down the sidewalk, and he looks up, and you got like the entire building is just a big Jordan poster.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In that moment, I'm just like, all right, like they have entire buildings with this guy on it in other countries that he doesn't play in. You know, that's definitely worldwide appeal. Um, for me, growing up as a Bulls fan here in West Michigan, it was a whole lot different, and we can talk a whole lot about the Pistons in the next episode because the next episode of Last Dance will be discussing those Piston years. But growing up here in West Michigan, one of the struggles was being a Bulls fan, and every time they lost, hearing about it, like they could lose by like 1 point in triple overtime to the very best team, in the Western Conference, who they only play like twice a year, and man, people would just harp on you about that. It was a little difficult, being a Bulls fan. Especially during the first three championships. By the time the sixth championship rolled around, it was a lot easier. But man, early on, being a Bulls fan was difficult.
I know from my own experiences because when I moved here to Grand Rapids in '93, and when Jordan retired, you couldn't find Bulls apparel at any sports store.
Yep.
And I was wondering when he retired, went to baseball. I'm there trying to find a Bulls, anything Bulls. Goes, no, that stock. I remember at Reynolds and Sons, they told me that stock dropped.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that as
Yep.
many Bulls things anymore.
And for the kids out there who don't understand this, we didn't have the internet to in '93 we pretty much didn't have the internet. I mean, it's such an infancy. But even in '98, it was not to the level where you could just go online and order anything you wanted. It was very very difficult to find Chicago Bulls merchandise in the West Michigan area. Like you go to like even stores like Lids, which now have a wide variety of Chicago stuff on their shelves at all times, but even going there, they'd have like maybe one or two hats available. And
Yes.
yeah, I mean it was much more difficult. And I remember my first Jordan jersey, which is hanging up behind me over on this side, the red one there. That authentic Jordan jersey, that was the first authentic one I bought, and that I had to get in Chicago because they didn't have them in Michigan. Even during the height of their popularity, I couldn't go to a Foot Locker or a what other Foot Action I think was around back then. I couldn't go to
Yeah.
one of those stores and
Yeah.
pick up a
Good
jersey.
action.
Yep. Couldn't go pick up a authentic jersey. You'd be able to once in a while find a replica at one of those stores, but finding
Yeah.
the authentic merch was difficult for sure.
Yeah. I was lucky to find a Bulls practice tee by Champion. It just said Bulls basketball straight across the chest with the word mark with the NBA logo on the side at a place called Shoe Palace back in the day on Division, like in the hood.
Now, would that have numbers or anything on it, or did it just say
No,
Bull? Okay,
it was
so
like what they practiced in.
gotcha. I think my first Bulls apparel was a knockoff. My mom got it for me, I believe, for my birthday when I was like in middle school, and it was the home jersey. So it's the white jersey. It is a real light, like kind of shiny material. It's got Bulls 23 on the front and a 23 in the back, but no Jordan written on it. And then the little NBA logo up in the corner is like a sewn on patch, but the entire rest of the jersey is like almost like it was screen printed onto it. And then the shorts that came with it were just plain red shorts with the Bulls head on them. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure looking back on that those were some kind of knockoff. I'm
Yeah.
almost positive that was not a licensed NBA item. But then again, like I said, you couldn't find the stuff here, so I'm assuming she walked into some place that had this knockoff and thought she found the genuine McCoy. But yeah, no. So we looked at this series. What did you? I mean, being from Chicago, and a lot of us hardcore fans. I mean, I knew about what a scumbag Jerry Krause was to begin with, and I think a lot of people this was a revelation to them that he was just a pretty terrible human being.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. When did you realize that? Did you realize that as a fan? Where I mean, before the Pippen situation, or
I read the book The Jordan Rules by Sam Smith, and there was a lot of um, Jerry Krause background and interactions in there, what I remember. And that was the gist of it, was that he wasn't very well liked.
yeah.
And how they even nicknamed him Crumbs, because he'd always have like donut crumbs on his tie or shirt.
Yep. Yeah, I think my first realization about what kind of person he was came when, after the third championship, and Michael goes off and plays baseball. They have another year there where they're in contention, and they end up losing in the playoffs. But one of the key players on that team was Horace Grant. And we all know Horace ended up leaving in free agency, going to Orlando. But a lot of what I was hearing from like sports reporters at the time and in the newspaper things were talking about the contract negotiation just kind of breaking down between him and Jerry Krause. And a lot of that had to do with, we look back, a lot of that had to do with Jerry Krause's lack of interest to pay value or pay dollars for the value of the player. I think the Bulls could have kept Horace. I think Horace could have stayed as part of that team, but at that point in time, Jerry Krause was unwilling to fork over any money for guys who weren't the biggest star on the team.
Yeah. Um, I mean, it is a business, and Jerry was all about saving money, and even if it meant at the expense of players being unhappy.
But I mean, the fact is, he wasn't afraid to pay Jordan, because Jordan one season actually made more than what the player contracts were supposed to be. There wasn't a cap limit, a hard cap, but like Jordan's like pay that year was like more than the average pay for any other team in the league. Like they were paying Jordan himself more than what other teams were playing all their players combined. So
Which was,
he was
um,
he was willing to
well,
spend.
he he would owe that.
Yeah, absolutely. He absolutely was. I'm just saying, like, uh, Jerry Krause was willing to spend, but he was very selective of where he was going to spend, and that rang true with the Scottie Pippen situation. I mean, obviously, it's also partially Scotty's fault for accepting a contract as long as he did. I mean, what was it,
Yeah,
a six-year deal or something crazy like that he signed?
7-year deal.
Yeah, I mean that's a long time, and I mean I know you want to protect yourself against injury and whatnot, but that's a long deal, man, and he improved tremendously over that contract. So I think he would do the money that he wanted. It's just a situation where like you said, it's a business, but yeah, it's one of those things that was pretty shocking to a lot of people, at least from what I've seen online. So, how are you handling the whole social distancing that we're going through right now? I mean, have you been watching any old games, or are you just sticking with the documentary that you've been doing?
And pretty much sticking with the documentary, but there's, because of leading up to it, the hype, people are posting a lot of videos on my like fan book pages. So it's nice to reminisce that way and
Yeah,
watch some of those old clips.
did you send me the statistic where it was like 60-some% higher use of classic Bulls teams in the NBA 2K game?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's a cool stat, man. That people are going back and taking time to utilize those teams and remember like how good they were. Because I think there's a lot of confusion um, in the whole argument between who's the best. Was it Jordan? Was it LeBron? Is it Kobe? All the people want to throw out the name of people. I think a lot of people forget what Jordan actually brought to the table and how different he was than these other guys. So it makes me happy anytime I see someone going back and watching that old footage or experiencing it even through a video game.
For sure. I think it'll affect a lot of things after the series is over. Already expecting the Air Jordans, the retros, to go up in price a bit on StockX. I
Yeah,
think that it'll affect it.
yeah, especially the Last Dance ones. I can see that the final shot Jordan's price going up because I think people are gonna wanna snag those bad boys. Um, and we got a multiple episode. I mean, it's a multiple episode series. It's definitely more than I expected it to be. I mean, when I first seen that they were doing something, I expected a one off. I mean, what were you expecting hearing they were going to do this series?
I thought it would just be a typical 30 for 30 at first, but when they said it was a 10-part series, I was really excited because that just meant more content. And that's something that those fans have just, everyone that's a fan of Michael Jordan has just been yearning for, itching for, especially at a time like this with the crisis.
Yeah, agreed. I'm hoping that this leads to the NBA doing the smart thing and going in and cleaning up their library, doing some digital editing and doing what they can to get the video quality higher and
Yes,
releasing some of this
I
stuff.
said that. It's we're spoiled now.
Yeah.
You know, back then we thought we were fine looking at our tube TV at that definition.
Yep.
It was
Well, and I mean, back then your maximum TV size was probably like a 32 inch, and now you're looking at people with like 65 and 80-inch TVs, and the larger you expand that screen size out, the more resolution you're going to lose. So cleaning that up would be a major positive for the NBA to have. And at this point, the price point that the DVD Chicago Bulls championship DVDs and the Jordan Ultimate Jordan Collection DVDs and Blu-rays are going for online, couple $100 a pop. I'm pretty sure if they re-released a digitally remastered box set, people would be lining up to buy it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If they could do a whatever 4K.
Yeah, I very much doubt they'll be able to get it up to 4K quality, but I'm sure they can do. I mean, they can definitely do get it up to like 780, 780p. I think that would be amazing if they could do so with the old footage. But the nice thing is, if ESPN decides to release this, all the new footage for this is shot in 4K. So that'll be really cool to see that come out. Um, yeah, I'd love to own a DV set for the Last Dance. Um, but yeah, so we also talked. We've seen a lot of the legends kind of come on and talk about Jordan. We've seen, of course, Larry Bird with his comments about that being God wearing Michael Jordan's jersey in their playoff series where Jordan dropped 63. Um, were there any comments from the legends that we've seen that kind of surprised you?
Yeah, my one of my favorite lines from the episode was when James Worthy said with confidence, I was better than him," and then paused and said, "For 2 weeks."
Yeah,
I just busted out laughing.
yeah.
Just talked about how he just soaked up everything and just got better and better. And the more he learned, and you could totally see that happening.
Mm.
That's just Michael being Michael.
Yeah, and it was really good to hear more about his time at North Carolina because I feel like that's something that is touched on very very little in those like DVD releases that they've done before and the championship videos and stuff that they've done over the years. They've spent very little time on North Carolina, so it was nice going back and seeing that. I also thought I liked Walt Clyde Frazier and he was interviewed and it's an old interview, and he said something like the guy's got to realize that he's not a 7-footer. He's not going to carry a team. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, that didn't age well. Like now we're in a time where like 7-footers I mean really don't do much for their teams. It's these perimeter players who are scoring all your points. And yeah, back then though, different world. So it really shows how much the game's changed since then.
Oh, it's definitely changed. And you saw slight transition of that when you had the little guys like Allen Iverson who would dominate, it being how small he was, and carrying a team to the finals. That was like you could see the progression. Then you got guys like Nate Robinson, little Isaiah Thomas. That would just size doesn't matter in basketball. You have the skills and the heart over height.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I think maybe that started kind of in the '90s, later '90s. I mean, we had Akeem, we had David Robinson, you had Patrick Ewing, you had Shaq. Those were like your, Dikembe Mutombo. You had like maybe 5, 6 like legitimate big centers who were important to their team. And then you had a lot of teams who had big guy they brought in who were just there to like foul those big centers. Like I mean, you've seen the Bulls like lineup of big men from Cartwright, Will Purdue, Stacey King era to your Luke Longley, Bill Wennington, John Sally, Buddha Edwards, Robert Parrish era. You
Yeah,
had you had
we
a
had a bunch of
huge
centers, man.
Yep. You had a ton of centers just so you could throw them at guys like Shaq and Ewing and
Yeah,
yeah. So
that's 5 fouls
yep,
each. So
exactly. I mean,
is
it
it
kind of
5 or
seen
6?
yep. It definitely seen a change in things, and then of course when you've seen guys come over like Tony Kukoc, and then later like guys like Dirk Nowitzki, who were bigger guys who shot outside jump shots, completely changed the game at that point. So yeah, I mean, the makeup of those Bulls teams were very very interesting. Especially like we'll talk again. Like I said, next week we'll talk about the Piston episode, and we can go over like the fact that Chicago liked to sign Detroit players. Like they really really did.
Yeah,
Yep. I mean, even after Jerry Krause was gone, I mean, you had guys. They brought in Ben Wallace and Richard Hamilton
don't
and like.
don't don't forget the fact that we had John Starks
Yep.
for what, a week.
Yeah. Yep.
That was just the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah.
Seeing John Starks in a Bulls jersey.
Yep. I completely agree. That was odd. That was an odd time. I mean,
If you're one of those people that collects obscure jerseys, that's one to get.
absolutely. Yep. I mean, I thought when we're talking about things that were very odd to see. When you actually would watch when Jordan was playing with the Wizards and Pippen was with the Trailblazers. Like there's some real good
That
photos
was a
of those guys
spot
guarding each other. Yeah, it's
Pippen
just
on the Blazers.
yep. And
They
then
had a squad. It's just
well, when Pippen went to the Rockets, like that team, like on paper should have been champions.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they had a heck of a lineup, but injuries and everything else.
Barkley got into it a little bit.
Yep.
There was a little bit of I don't know, some beef there for his run in Houston.
Yeah.
Or is it Houston?
Yeah, they were in Houston. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, speculatively, I would think it may be something to do with their past matchups with in the finals, and the fact Scotty had the 6 championships and Barkley had yet to win one. So, little things like that some little bit of jealousy maybe creep in there between the two. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this Piston episode. I mean, I don't know what we're gonna find out we don't already know, but
Yeah, there's a lot of footage of Jordan and Pippen getting beat up
oh, sure is.
in those Jordan videos. The of the so-called Jordan rules.
Yep.
It was just basically hit Michael if he comes down the lane.
Mm-hmm. And I
But
mean, and it wasn't hit him like, so you got hack a Shack where it's like, oh, put him on the free throw line because he can't hit free throws. You got to understand that in this era, the Pistons were like, hit him so he doesn't get back up, like knock him down so he doesn't get back up. Yeah, it wasn't a like, oh, send him to the free throw line because he can't shoot a free throw.
no, it was
The
punish him.
yeah,
But what was crazy is that Michael kept going in there.
yeah. And I mean, once Scotty and the rest of the guys kind of took that same attitude that Michael had, that's when we seen the Bulls finally overcome. It took the rest of the team kind of understanding that that's the attitude they need to have. But yeah, no, that should be a good episode coming up this week, and we're doing this one late just because of the fact that we didn't talk about doing this before like we watched the episode. Like I watched it and I was like, man, this would be something cool to talk about. And our Twitter feed for Smarking Down kind of blew up with just all Last Dance talk. And I'm like, I bet JR would be really good with me on here just talking about Chicago Bulls shit. So that's when I hit you up because I'm like, we got a lot we can talk about, man. Being the Air Jordan aficionado too.
This isn't my thing, but I am a diehard fan.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should work on and when it's all over, like probably maybe for our last episode of this series, maybe we should bring out some collectible type stuff and kind
Yeah.
of like do a show and tell because I know you have a closet full of Air Jordans. I know you got plenty of that, and I have all this kind of crazy shit like you see up here. I don't know. Do you remember these? You remember the Dennis Rodman worm pops?
No.
Yeah,
No.
those were popular for a minute. They were shaped like they had like Dennis Rodman's head on it with like a worm body on it with all like a big sucker. Yeah, yep. They that was a thing that they sold for a bit. So yeah, no.
Yeah, paraphernalia stuff is already spiking. There's been a lot of things moving, I guess, from what I've heard,
That's cool.
due to all the nostalgia.
Yeah.
Everyone's buying up 90s Chicago Bulls apparel and whatever it is. But I do have a few things, but not anything like what you have.
Yeah.
And as far as my sneakers, I'm really picky about those, so that's limited as well. And I'm still missing a lot of key Jordans that should be in a collection.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, there's I still have some from like 97, 98. And getting to the point where like the glue that holds like parts together are like is coming loose and I need to figure out how to repair that. And then I'm just going to need to start popping on like repops because I have these original ones. It's nice to be able to break them out from time to time, but I also don't want to be in a situation where the shoe just falls apart. And having them for as long as I had,
Yeah.
it's one of those situations where I'm like, all right, it might be time to start picking up a bunch of repops, because
What
they're
are you
out there.
saying? Repops?
With that,
You said repops?
yeah, re-releases of the
Retros.
classic styles, retros, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It may be time to start doing that just because those late '90s ones, like I said, the glue is coming loose and
Totally. Yeah, the elements are gonna take a toll on it, whether it be the yellowing of the soles, if they're that clear,
yep,
those turn piss yellow, and just naturally, just from the air, the humidity, glue starts to break down, and those. That's why. So you'll see there's some NBA players that like to flex, and they'll go run around at the retros and watch the sole just pop off.
yeah, yeah. Yep. I mean, and they're doing a much better job with the retros. I know when they earlier than they started doing them, they were not they were still in the quality of what like they originally were. So they were re-releasing like Jordan 1s that still felt like Jordan 1s. And I know they've been putting like the air in the soles and stuff now,
Yeah.
which makes it so much more comfortable to wear some of those older models. And I also know a couple pairs were were a bit heavy to where we'll actually playing in, and the re-releases of those have also been much lighter, and they've taken and made those more comfortable. So. Yeah, it's definitely something I need to start investing in. And I mean, well, we're kept indoors and I can't go anywhere. I guess I could just buy shoes. I mean, most of
That's
the
much fun. That's what I've been partaking in. It's called retail therapy.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we went into this whole pandemic with plans to go to like 4 wrestling shows over like 3 months and actually shoot at them and in different states and really do a whole lot of coverage here on the channel. And like it was like one after another. Like one day I had one cancel, the next day I had another cancel, the next day I had two cancel, and I'm like, all right, well, looks like we're not going to anything. So uh,
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, the NBA season being canceled, I'm sure a lot of people were upset about that. I've heard tons of Laker fans upset, saying this was supposed to be our year. So, you know, yeah, I know, right? All the LeBron fans are pissy, and a lot of them came out during this documentary too, like the argument of how much better LeBron is than Jordan, and I'm like,
My God,
yeah, it's
don't even start.
I know.
I don't want to like go down that road. That's like shouldn't even be brought up. And this is the last dance. After it's all said and done, I think will open the eyes and educate these youngins, millennials, and younger.
Oh, dude, you're giving everybody way too much credit as the channel that focuses on professional wrestling. Let me tell you, um, marks are going to be marks, my friend. I mean, if you're going to be that guy who's going to be a stand for somebody, it doesn't matter what somebody else is going to say to you. You're going to tell them they're wrong. So we get that pretty regularly.
Old man yells at cloud or anything.
Yeah.
It's just we've seen it live. I've seen it live in person. I've gone to the games. I've seen it. I have VHS tapes of it. I have all the DVD collectors, and no,
Yeah.
the GOAT is Michael.
Yep, and I completely agree. And I mean, he did things so differently and broke the norms just in so many ways. Where people are still emulating that. I don't know how you could even compare. I mean, if anything, I made this comparison online this week. I was like, LeBron James is more comparable to a Dominique Wilkins or a Sean Kemp in that he's a prolific scorer. He is extremely athletic, but we've seen what happened to both of those guys when they got injured and they lost that athleticism. I think it was a key that for LeBron is that he can get to the hoop because he's big, powerful, and athletic. Then again, we've seen Michael Jordan in his last couple years. He was still dropping 20 points a game, and he wasn't nearly as athletic when he was with the Wizards. We've seen him be a scorer in the later years of his career. I mean, even Kobe in his last season, he wasn't anywhere close to the scorer that he used to be. He wasn't close to the scorer Jordan was in Jordan's final 2 seasons. So I think while these guys are really athletic and are prolific scorers, I just don't think they're on that level, and I don't think they ever were on the same level as what Michael Jordan was. But so anyway, so let's talk about since we're talking about our history a little bit here and as Chicago Bulls fans, your first game. Like, at what point was your first Chicago Bulls game?
Oh man, my first Chicago Bulls game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what that was. The only one I did, okay. I do remember I was very young, but I think, I don't even remember what team it was. This was before Jordan,
Okay.
and my dad brought me, we met up with one of his friends, and he had a son around my age, and we went to a game, and back then, I really didn't care about Bulls basketball. I was more into toys, and I was happy he bought me this little rubber basketball that had a Bull logo on it, and that was like my little souvenir. And I didn't really care. I didn't really get into it until I started playing basketball in grammar school. I went to a Catholic school and rode the bench. This was like back in like 84, 85, and that's when I started to like recognize that, yeah, Michael Jordan is awesome. I was always envious of our star player on the team. He had the Air Jordan 1s,
Mm-hmm.
and I had some like, I don't know, Etonics or Reeboks that weren't even basketball shoes, I don't think. But my love for the game grew um, when I was watching the Bulls on WGN, and I ended up moving to Michigan, and we still being so close to Chicago's only like an hour and a half away. In Stevensville, we still had WGN, so I would watch Bulls games, and I would like not be doing homework, and they're just like watching this up and coming Bulls team. And people in that Southwest area, there's a lot of Chicago fans, so it wasn't as bad. There was people writing on the Pistons because they were back-to-back champs and everything, but you still had a mixture of Bulls fans, Cubs, and Bears because we were so close to Chicago and Detroit. So I had some buddies that we would come over and watch the draft, and we were watching when they drafted B.J. Armstrong, Stacey King. But the one game that I do remember is when my dad got tickets to see the All-Star game in '88.
Oh,
It
that would have been
it
awesome.
was standing room only, but just to be in the old Chicago Stadium, yeah, we were up in the nosebleeds looking down, standing, but this is like the All-Star game. Jordan winning the dunk contest, um, becoming the MVP, All-Star game. That was so much fun. I have a program that I kept from it laying around somewhere, but that's one of the most memorable like games.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. My first Bulls game, a good group of us from high school decided to go to see the Bulls Pistons play. And this is 97, 98. Grant Hill was there. It was a regular season game, and we took a bus out to Detroit for
The
the show.
ugly teal jerseys.
Uh, I want to say they were still wearing the red and blue.
Okay,
Yeah.
those
Um,
teal jerseys are horrible.
oh, yeah, they those were horrible. But so we took with us the German exchange student. So there were like four of us who went out, and German exchange students with us. And so we're out there. I bought the black Jordan jersey, the pinstriped one, which is behind me to this side. I bought that at the pro shop there on sale. So I picked.
Sale.
Yeah, it was on sale. It was like
You know how much money we would have if we bought all those on sale Jordan jerseys back
I
then?
know, right? Resold them now. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But so I picked that up. I had that on. One of my other buddies is wearing a red champion Bulls jersey. One of the other guys is wearing a Bulls hoodie, and where we got kind of like the lower balcony seats, and so it's just after halftime. There's a bunch of seats like down the lower stands available. Nobody's sitting in them. And we're like, we're gonna go try to take these seats. So we go down there, and it's like the Pistons fan section. It's like the season ticket holder section that we're sitting in. And, so we go down there and we're sit there. The game starts, and Jordan's just scoring all over to the Pistons, and our German exchange student starts like fucking heckling the Pistons, like yeah you suck. You suck. You can't take Michael Jordan. He's the greatest. You suck. Best basketball player ever. And we're like, dude, you gotta shut up. I'm like, we're freaking sitting here and all this bull stuff in the Piston fan section, and you're up there heckling the Piston players. Will you shut up? So like on the bench,
man.
A couple of the players turned around and gave him like a dirty look from the Pistons team. I'm like, dude, we're totally gonna get thrown out of this game. Like
You
this is
almost
not
started the
happening.
original Malice at the Palace.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what are you doing? So that'll always be one I remember, just because we were, we're like 16 at the time, and 15, 16 at the time. Took a bus out to freaking Detroit, just us, no adult supervision. We got the German exchange student like screaming screaming shit at the players. I'm like, oh man, we're gonna get arrested. We were so scared. It was crazy. So that's always a funny one to think about. I only got to see one game in Chicago, um, and that was I think a preseason game at the Chicago Stadium. So didn't ever get to watch them play at the United Center, unfortunately. We
Yeah,
did.
the United Center. I'll tell you this: the United Center is nowhere near close to the old Chicago Stadium as far as crowd noise.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd noise used to be an actual factor at the old Chicago Stadium.
Yeah, and there are definitely buildings like that. Like the Sears Center in Chicago, I was surprised. We did all in and all out there for AEW, and that was interesting because that stadium you could feel it like vibrate, like with people cheering. Like I
Yep.
mean, because it's a smaller stadium, and it was just so packed and people were just so loud. So yeah, there are definitely those venues that that carry that kind of sound, but yeah, United Center is not one of them, though it is a very, very nice facility. They have the championship trophies all on display now. They got the Pippen bust out in the lobby. They got the Jordan. They moved the Jordan statue over to their like office center or whatever now. It's indoors.
I don't know if it moved; they just built around it.
Did
It's like
they?
in an atrium.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't think they actually
Okay.
physically moved it.
Okay.
It's they built an atrium around because it used to be outdoors. I
Yeah.
kind of like that, but now it's indoors.
Yep. Yeah, no, because I remember the first time I was in Chicago. We went over to it, and I was able to get a picture and stuff at the statue. They were like, "Yeah, you can go in and get a picture with the statue," which was really cool because with outdoors, and it was the season was no longer going on. It was in the middle of the summer, and it was like on like a Sunday that we stopped by, so like nothing was going to be open. So it was nice to be able to have that opportunity. Not really sure if the atrium or whatever they have it in now is open like all the time or not.
It, it is
It
because
is
I
okay.
took a friend there. I had a friend that was here from Italy, and she that was so weird. I told her I would show her around some of the Chicago landmarks, and um, I asked her where she wanted to go. First thing she said was, "Can we visit the Jordan statue?" I was like, "Are you serious?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." It was funny. Her name was Rose, and I gave one of my son's old Rose jerseys to her, that a Bulls jersey that doesn't fit him anymore, and she was so happy because it has her name on it.
That's cool.
So it fit her, and this is the daughter of one of my friends that I met in Perugia, Italy, when I went there to take a couple of classes for art school. I met some good people out there, which happened to be they were all Jordan fans. It was nuts, and that's why she wanted photos with the statue, and so she could show her dad and her boyfriend. And I played photographer and shot her with the Rose jersey and by the statue. It was I just was so amazed that that was the first thing of all the things you want to see the Jordan statue, and I was like all about it because I haven't been in that new atrium yet. And so that was over the summer we did that.
Yeah, Jordan and I, my son, who's named Jordan, for anybody who this is their first video, we went down for the Marvel Live show. They did like it's like superheroes meet like Evil Knievel stunt show type thing, and they were doing it all over the place. And they were doing it in Detroit, and they'd be doing it like a year later in Grand Rapids. But they were going to do it in Chicago, and they were doing it at the United Center. So I specifically like bought tickets to that show just because I'm like, I haven't made it in the United Center yet. I need an excuse to go in the building. And it was awesome, man. Like he's there at that age, he was marking out over Captain America and Iron Man, all the stunt stuff. Meanwhile, I'm there getting like photos of the Scottie Pippen bust and of the trophies and of all the banners. Like people got their kids there and they're taking photos of the superheroes. I'm looking up, taking photos of the banners up in the rafters. Like, it was pretty cool. I
I
definitely appreciated it.
tell me your opinion on it. I think Pippen was worthy of a full statue.
I do too. I definitely agree with that.
I mean, that would have been awesome if he was like on the other side of the building, or I don't know, with a statue, or
Mm-hmm.
build one of him next to the Michael. I don't know.
Yeah, or even one of him like just a few feet away from Michael, like in a position where he's passing the ball, so it looked like he passed it to Jordan and Jordan's going up for that dunk. Like that'd be cool. Like somehow link that together. Yeah, no, I definitely think Scotty could have used a full statue. But then again, I'm still waiting for them to induct Dennis Rodman's jersey. They haven't retired '91, and I don't understand why they haven't. Being part of three championships, a key part, of three championship teams in Chicago. I really feel like Dennis's jersey should have been retired.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis is, but if Dennis was to go up there, I think people would argue there's people that should be up there before him.
Well, who else? Would
There's a few other like older players that I didn't see watching that people talk about, so I can't really speak for that.
Mhm.
But um,
as far as name recognition goes, he's definitely up there. Is the most popular of the Bulls, and as far as championship accolades, he's up there. All three seasons he spent there, he was the rebounding leader in the NBA. He took the trophy for that. So I think his personal and team accolades during that time kind of warrant that inclusion. Because you can make that argument that okay, well, Tony Kukoc, he was a pretty big scorer. He helped them a lot during those 3 years, and you can argue that well, um, Horace Grant won three championships with them before that, and he was a big part of that team. But when you just think of overall personal and team accolades plus like overall notoriety and being recognized around the world, Dennis Rodman is kind of a key figure. During that time frame, he was on TNT Monday Nitro with Hulk Hogan wrestling. He was doing movies with Jean Claude Van Damme. He was readily available within other forms of media other than just on the basketball court. And I think that celebrity that he gained while in Chicago, that should be recognized. But yeah,
yeah,
so
I'd like to see it up there. I'd like to see Derrick Rose's jersey up there.
yeah, that's a good argument one day to have too. I think Derek did a lot for that team. I think he was the face of that team, and I think when he retires, I do think that'd be you know a positive. I think the fans would feel positive about it. I think it would be something that would be look good for the team to do is to retire his jersey. But I
Yeah,
think
I think there's a lot of fans that don't think it should because he never won us a championship.
Mhm. I don't
But
know. Like neither did most of those numbers up there. The only three numbers up on the rafters was won a championship with Michael, Scotty, and Phil. The rest of those numbers up there didn't win the Bulls a championship. So if and then if you look at that, if you take that into account, then a lot of teams have retired jerseys and they haven't won championships like at all. So you kind of have to figure what the player did for the team, for the community. Um, and I think Dennis Rodman and I think Derrick Rose both fit that requirement.
did you watch the Rodman documentary, the 30 for 30, or
Yeah, yes, I did. Where he
it's
was,
pretty sad actually.
it absolutely. There've been a couple Rodman documentaries out, and yeah, like everything he dealt with his alcohol problems, and then all the stuff with him trying to bridge relations between the U.S. and North Korea with basketball. Um, I think he really wanted to do that. I think he, with heartfelt in his decision to do so. Obviously, the stress really got to him during that time, and it caused him to go back to drinking. We actually, we met Dennis, so he didn't seem like he was 100% sober at the time we met him either.
Oh,
Yeah.
I agree.
So
After halftime, I remember we watched him walk. He didn't even stay for the full game. I mean, it is a GR drive versus Windy City Bulls, but he just.
it wasn't. I don't. That one wasn't even against the Windy City Bulls. That was a game we went to where they weren't playing the Bulls.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, no. Like we only went because Rodman would be there. Because
They were playing the Windy City Bulls.
no, the Windy City Bulls weren't there because I remember I asked Jordan if he wanted to go and he was like, "Are the Bulls playing?" And I'm like, "No, but Dennis Rodman will be there." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't wanna go watch the game. I mean, if you want me to go with you to meet Dennis Rodman," and I'm like, "Well, no, like I'm not gonna give you a ticket and then just let you go home. Like we're gonna stay and watch the game." And he's like, "Yeah, no, that's all right."
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was cool to get to meet him though, and
Yeah, you really impressed him with your wrestling T-shirt with his face on it.
yeah, and throwing up the too sweet and whatnot. Yeah, no, it was cool, man. He really dug the T-shirt. He thought that was funny, and you were rocking the Bulls Robin jersey.
Yeah, thanks for letting me borrow that. That's a classic champion jersey.
Yep,
You
absolutely,
want
man.
to unload that, man? I'll pay you for it.
the
That's a
kid,
classic.
the kid stole it. He's got it in his closet right now. So
I did pick up because Fanatics has a sale. I did pick up a jersey, a Dennis
nice,
Rodman jersey.
very cool.
Not as cool as a jersey, but it was on sale, $30, whatever it was.
Nice.
Um, I don't know how they could charge $45 for those things, but
Yeah,
$30 is a lot too.
yeah.
It has the NBA Finals, I think the '98
Oh, very cool.
logo, the
Mhm.
right chest. So that's kind of cool.
They have the actual jerseys of those on oh, I want to say the Chicago Bulls store or the either that
Yeah,
or the NBA store right
all
now, and they're like
connected to
$300.
Fanatics. Like there's three things. Like Fanatics has theirs, and there's the NBA, Chicago Bulls, and then there's Fans Edge, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all one source. I think
Gotcha.
it's
Yeah, and those sell for like $300 though. Those are crazy expensive. Those the
yeah,
jerseys.
and you're talking like the authentic.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'm okay rocking a replica,
Yep.
a swingman.
Yeah, I'm like, I have an authentic Jordan jersey. I have a couple authentic Jordan jerseys. I have his Dream Team one's an authentic, and then the red one behind me is authentic. So yeah, I like it's like all right, well, I can pick up the others in like replicas or whatever, or swingmans. They're much better than the '90s replicas anyway. Those things you'd wash them and the numbers would fall off.
Oh, because well, back then they actually were screen
Yep,
printing um, jerseys.
absolutely. Yep, and
It's
then
weird. When these came out, this was called, what was it called? The Michael Jordan 8403, Flight 8403, the 2000, is it 2003? They released these retro throwback jerseys. And I'm actually rocking the Swingman. But when they did the authentic version, this was all screen printed, which was cheaper to
yeah,
some people's eyes. When you have a screen printed number name on the back, as opposed to like a tackle twill type
yep,
look. That was crazy to me, but that's if they want authentic,
yeah,
that's what they did back then.
yep.
You could see it in the photos, shiny of all the screen print of the numbers on the name on the back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I always those jerseys always would like crack and peel like crazy. Um, I mean, and you'd buy like I had so I had like a Scottie Pippen, I had a Jordan, I had a Rodman. I had different colors of the Jordan. I had a white, a red, and I had a black one, and then I had a red Pippin and a black Jordan or a black Rodman, and like the Pippin one, all the numbers started peeling off like with one wash, and like the other ones, like the
One
numbers never
wash.
peeled off. What's
One of
that?
the key things is never put it in the dryer.
Yeah.
Let it air dry.
Yep.
And if you're gonna wash it on delicate.
Yep.
Inside out.
Yep.
And
yeah. No.
And on cold.
Yep. Then the only one that did it with the Pippin one, like the Pippin one, just like on the first wash.
That sounds like a printing error. Then
yeah,
they didn't cure the ink.
Yep.
They got produced.
Yep.
Because it should fall off after one wash.
Exactly.
So print that champion jersey. I'm sure they job out to other facilities, but they didn't have the temperature at the right where it would cure.
Yep. And I mean, I've had that happen like one time since then. Pro Wrestling Tees does all their printing, and we absolutely love them because their work is amazing. But I ordered a pair of Bullet Club jogging pants, and with like one wash, a bunch of the lettering was like falling off. And I'm like, so I just contacted them, and they were like, all right, cool, we'll send you another pair. We're sorry about that. And I'm like, oh, no problem. You know, you're sending me another pair, and you know, not charging me for shipping or nothing. And I'm like, they handled it perfectly. But yeah, it's the only other time I've had something where like one time I put it in and just like the print just fell off it. So yeah, I assumed that it was a screen print issue, but yeah, so. Yeah, for those who are watching, Jr. actually does T-shirt design for a living, so he knows all the ins and outs of the screen printing business. So, yeah. But anyway, I think we covered a lot here in this episode. I think maybe we should call it for this one, and maybe you know, save something for the next episode. I mean, today is Friday. We're shooting this, so Sunday is the next Last Dance episode. So
yeah, they said there's going to be some more Pippin. I listened to Waddle and Sylvie's podcasts, and they interviewed the director, and he said that one of the first two episodes are good, but the ones after that are crazy. They're amazing. So
awesome.
This Rodman one, there's the Rodman one, and there's going to be more talk. Didn't you feel with the second episode? I thought it was about Pippen, but then they jumped back to Jordan again.
Yeah,
it was like here it is again. Pippen's second fiddle in his own episode. He's in Jordan's shadow.
Exactly. Like it was like this is how Scottie Pippen was done dirty and didn't get paid the right amount of money, and this is what he was thinking, and then it's like Michael says, and Michael's like, yeah. Michael's like, yeah, I didn't like it, and then like it just goes on to talking about Michael, and I'm like, whoa, wait, what happened to Scotty? Yeah, right. No, yep. So we're obviously gonna get more of that. I'm assuming they're probably gonna cover like the supporting cast at some point, maybe even in a full episode or something, because the story behind those guys are pretty interesting too. You know,
their perspective.
Yeah, I want to hear more from like Tony about like being drafted by the Bulls, not going there to play, having to play Michael and Scotty in the Olympics, and getting like just completely destroyed by those guys, and then eventually going there later. I kind of want to hear his story and his perspective on all that. You know, I'd also like to hear like Steve Kerr's perspective of playing with the Cleveland Cavaliers as a team that was a fairly decent rival to the Bulls, and then coming over, as well as all these Piston guys, which I'm sure we're going to hear from them during the Piston episode. I'm sure John Saley will make an appearance.
Here's my cat, Portis.
Portis making a cameo.
Yeah. Yes, he's named after Bobby Portis.
Yeah, don't feel bad. My kid's named after Michael Jordan, so.
I named him after Bobby Portis, and they traded him for Porter Jr. So I was debating if I should change his name to Porter Jr. or Porter,
or just get another one.
Yeah.
Just trade this one for another one. Yeah. So, good. Quick question before we wrap up. Has your son been watching any of the Last Dance stuff or no?
No. Okay. He hates sports.
Yeah, Jordan's the same way. He's not a sports fan. He enjoys his pro wrestling. He's not a sports fan, but he watched those 2 episodes with me and he's hooked. Like
Yeah,
he's like we can watch some Bulls DVDs this week if you want to. I'm like we could. Yeah, I'm like I'm fine with that. And he's like I really enjoyed that. Both The Last Dance and then Vice is doing the Dark Side of the Ring documentary series where they're talking about like pro wrestling and murders and deaths and drug use and things like that happen within that industry, and they're kind of shining a light on it. He's really been enjoying that series this year too. He's really getting into these sports docs.
there's a lot of fans, or not a lot of fans, but there's a lot of people that just because of the hype that they're watching this docu series and are hooked because it's intriguing and they're seeing all this stuff. Especially when they started talking about travel cocaine circus. There's Michael swearing. This is legit.
Mm. So
So
did you
I'm
know?
it didn't censor anything, and they're just saying
Did
what.
you did you know that ESPN and ESPN2 had 2 different versions of it playing? Like,
Yes, I
yeah,
heard about that. There's a censored version.
yeah, because my DVR recorded both, and I'm like, why do I have this recorded twice? And I'm like, why does one say it's uncensored? I'm like, that's weird. So then I checked them out, and sure enough, yeah, they censored out a bunch of the swearing and stuff. I'm like, that's that's unfortunate. Hopefully they if they release the full version, it'll be uncensored because I would definitely like to make an investment into that on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever format.
Yeah,
Yeah. But all right, well, we're gonna call it here. We'll do another episode next week. We'll cover the Detroit Piston episode, and till then, I've been Brother Bob. With me is Jr. And everybody, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. That'll keep you up to date with future releases from this channel. It also will help us, eventually open up a store through Pro Wrestling Tees. It'll help us, get featured in the YouTube algorithm. It does a lot for us just by you guys clicking on those things. So thanks a lot, and we'll be back with you guys next week.